Let's talk about Petal commands and training tools so that you can stay consistent at home. First thing we're going to talk about is the heel. Heel is on your left side on a nice loose leash. Her shoulder should be about aligned with your left leg. About 80 to 90% of your walks are going to be spent in this position. The other 10 to 20% of the time she can be on a loose leash. She can sniff, go potty, explore, as long as she's not pulling on that leash. This is prong collar. This is what I've been using in Petal's training. So to open this up, you just grasp one prong with your right hand, the other prong with your left, and pull down. It doesn't take a lot of pressure, it's more about the leverage that you apply to it. When you put this on, it goes nice and high up behind her ears. It should be the highest collar on her neck. So to put this together, you just pinch this prong and slot it into the next prong. The leash then attaches to this D-ring with the swivel on it. Now all the corrections that we give with this prong collar are a quick pop and release of the leash. You don't want to tug on this, you don't want to apply constant pressure. It's just a quick pop with the release being the most important part. So pop and release. So if she's in a heel and she starts to get ahead, you're going to tell her no, pop and release on the leash, heel. So it's no, pop, heel. Bring treats with you, especially on your first few walks, so that you can continue to reinforce that good behavior with treats. I know Petal loves pets, but she gets a little bit too excited about them and tends to break her commands if you pet her with too much intensity. So she does find treats to be very rewarding, but doesn't get as excited about them, so she'll still maintain her position. So this is the electronic collar. To turn this on, there is a red dot on the collar itself. There's a matching red dot on the remote. You simply tap those two together until you see a green light. That means it's on, charged, and ready to go, and that light will flash green every few seconds, letting you know that it's on. To turn on the remote, there's an L button on the back of the remote. You just press and hold that until the blue screen lights up. So with this, if she's getting head in the heel, you tap this black S button. We're not going to use the red S button right now, just the black one. So she gets a head in the heel, no, tap the black S button, heel. It's no, tap, heel. Next is sit. We use an implied stay with all of our commands. So if you tell Petal to sit, she is to sit until you tell her something else. So with door manners, you walk up to the door, she sits at the door, you then open the door and tell her free to walk through ahead of you or heel to walk through with you. Always return to her to release, and this should only be for short duration stays. You don't want to use it for a long duration stay because she'll get tired or bored and lay down or potentially break that stay. Down is for longer duration stays. If you tell her to go into a down and she doesn't go into that down, what you're going to do is pop low into the side rather than up like we did for the sit and heel. So you tell her down, she doesn't down. You tell her no, pop low into the side, down. So it's no, pop, down. Always reward low in this position, either on the floor or under her chin. And return to her to reward and release. You don't want to release from a distance because that will weaken that stay. And returning to her will increase the strength of that stay. Place is a boundary stay. We use raised platform beds that have a very clear boundary on them. Once she's used to it, you can generalize that to other things like your doormat or a dog bed. But we like to start out with those nice raised boundaries that she can understand. So always reward on the bed. The treats come from the bed itself, so that the bed is the most rewarding thing. And as with the down, always return to her to reward and release. You don't want to release from a distance. With come when called, always have a leash on when you're practicing this. It's a safety measure for you and her. So you're going to call her in a very clear voice that she can hear. Say, Petal, come. Praise as she comes to you. Have her sit and reward with treats. You always want to reward this command because you want them to always come back to you and you want it to be super, super rewarding. If you call her and she doesn't come back to you, you're going to use this black S button again. So you'll tell her no, tap that black S button, tell her come again. And again, always reward this command, even if you had to correct her, because the corrections happened out there, all the good stuff happens in here next to you. Leave it is a correction in itself. You don't have to use no with this command. You can, but you don't have to. So you drop something on the floor, Petal starts going for it, you tell her leave it, she still wants to go for it. You're going to tap this black S button, leave it. So you don't need to say no with this command. So this electronic collar can be worn all day, every day. It can go on in the morning and come off at night. You can rotate it periodically throughout the day, because if it sits in one spot for too long, it can cause little hot spot sores. But just rotate it throughout the day. It can be an inch up or down, or all the way to the other side of the neck. So this collar goes on beneath the prong collar. So it goes prong collar, electronic collar, then flat collar. So you want the contact points or the box to be on either side of the neck. You don't want it on the back because there's too much muscle there, and you don't want it directly in the front because there's not enough muscle. So ear to ear, but not directly in front. This prong collar should only be worn when you have a leash on. If you're going for a walk or going to be outside the house, or you have the leash on inside the house for some training. It should only be worn when you are using the leash. So now we're going to take a look at some of Petal's commands. Sit. Sit. Girl. Down. Sit. Sit. Yep.
Feet down. Just breathe.
Petal. Down. Good girl. Good down. Down. Good girl, down. Good girl. Free. So let's talk about the electronic collar in greater detail. I already showed you how to turn it on. Turning it off is the same. You simply tap the two red dots together until you see a red light turn on and then shut off. And then the collar is off. On the remote, you use this L button again. Just press and hold that L button until it says off, and then the screen shuts off. I'm just going to turn these back on so I can show you the rest of the features. We already went over the black S button. That's your regular correction button. Below that is a red button. That is a boost button. So if you press the red button, it will take the number on the collar from 15 up to 20. Raises it by 5 points. If you change the number on the dial for the black button, it also changes the number for the red button. It's always 5 higher. So speaking of the dial is locked right now, so if I turn it, it doesn't change the number. However, if I press down on this dial until it starts flashing, I can now turn the dial up and down and it will change the level of stim. Petal does pretty well at 15 right now. You may find that in more distracting environments, or if you're working with a ball or something that's super distracting for her, you have to dial this up or increase your boost level to compensate for that. To lock it again, you simply reset it to the number that you want and press and hold until that stops flashing. On the opposite side from the S buttons, you have the T button. All this does is vibrate the collar. We don't use this for any of our commands. It's simply used to check if the collar is on. On the back, the L button has a secondary function. If you press it once instead of holding, you get a flashing light on the collar. If you press it again, you get a solid light. And if you press it a third time, the light shuts off. Inside your box, you have the original band for the collar. This bungee band is optional, but I like these a lot better because you can simply adjust it once and snap it on and snap to take it off rather than adjusting it every single time. But that is in there. You have a lanyard for the remote. You have longer contact points, which you shouldn't need with Petal because her fur is not super thick. But if you ever did have to change the contact points, this is the tool that you would use to do that. You also have your charger. You'll notice that this has 2 ports, so you can charge both the remote and the collar at the same time. You will likely need to charge the collar a lot more than the remote because the collar does most of the work, but you'll get about 2 to 3 days on a charge. On the back of the collar is a rubber tab that opens up for the charger port. Just make sure that this is closed when you're not using it so it doesn't get filled up with dirt and debris. The same thing on the remote. There's a little rubber tab on the back. Just make sure that stays closed when you're not using it. And underneath your tray in here is your owner's manual. This goes into the buttons in greater detail, but I've gone over everything that you need for basic use. Petal is a great dog. I really enjoyed working with her. She's a lot of fun to work with, and I hope you have fun with her commands as well. As always, have fun, stay consistent, and if you have any further questions, let us know.